with people coming in for my 2 cents worth or less of my opinions on car news. And so today I decided I would be doing it again, a little different this time. I've got my camera or my iPhone on a tripod, and I've got my laptop and a Rockstar. Rockstar's been killing it lately. They've got a ton of new flavors, especially in their zero sugar cans. This one's mandarin orange. It's about halfway gone, and I think it's phenomenal. There's a lot to cover today. There was a bunch of news, especially over the weekend. What was it? The quail? Where did they... Murray. No, sorry. Monterey Car Week, that's it. Yes, the quail and Monterey Car Week. I get those all mixed up. I'm not sure which car event is happening when, especially all these big ones in like California that I don't get to attend. It's like not on my radar until every media organization is dropping articles on it. Anyway, let's get into it. Porsche, I'm going to lead off with Porsche because you know I love Porsche. We've got the new Turbo S. I'm probably the last person to comment on this or even bring it up. So anything you hear from me today is probably not going to be new information. We've got an article here from Chris Perkins on motor1.com. Last year, the Porsche 911 Carrera GTS went hybrid in pursuit of more power without increasing emissions. Now the almighty turbo is doing the same, and the effects are profound. With 701 horsepower, a 0 to 60 time of 2.4 seconds, and a Nürburgring Nordschleife time 14 seconds faster than its predecessor, the 2026 Porsche 911 Turbo S, which debuts at the Munich Motor Show, this is an old article obviously, is an absolute monster. So a couple of things right off the bat. I watched Jason Fenskes from Engineering Explained do that breakdown on all of the math where he bored Patrick Dempsey to tears. I thought that was kind of fun, and his math was really good. It was pretty much bang on 0 to 200 back to 0 in, what was it, 16 seconds or something like that. It was insane. I've driven a GTS one time. That's an absolute monster. So as we'll get into it, taking those turbos, making it smaller and then multiplying by 2 was quite the impressive result. Performance, twin turbo hybrid power. The new 992.2 Turbo S uses the same basic T hybrid system as the Carrera GTS. There's a 1.9 kilowatt hour, 400 volt lithium ion battery in the trunk, made by Rimac, if you didn't know. I knew that partnership was gonna have some trickle down. I assumed that partnership was gonna result in like electric Bugattis. Turns out, no, hybrid Porsches and Bugattis. That's where we're going so far. I'm sure he's also going to have a hand in developing some of the new stuff, like the new Cayenne that's supposed to be all electric, coming out I think at the end of this year. I could be wrong on that. And then a new Boxster Cayman platform will be all electric and capable of being like internal combustion powered. So that'll be interesting. I'm curious to see if anyone's even gonna take the electric version. I'm sure there'll be a few for sure, but I think the take rate is gonna be maybe 1 in 10, maybe less. But that's just my speculation. What do I know, right? I'm just a technician, not the consumer or a marketing genius. Lithium ion battery in the trunk, the same spot as the 12 volt battery in non-hybrid 911s, and on an electric motor sandwiched between the engine and 8-speed dual clutch PDK transmission. Except where the GTS uses a new 3.6 liter flat six with a single electric turbocharger, the new Turbo S gets twin electric turbochargers. Those electric turbochargers have a motor on the shaft linking the turbine and compressor, and these can spool up the turbo almost instantly. The motor also eliminates the need for a wastegate, instead braking the turbo and harvesting that otherwise wasted energy to either go back into the battery or be directed to the traction motor. It's the same motor Porsche uses for the GTS turbocharger, but the turbine and compressor wheels on the Turbo S are slightly smaller here. They also spin up significantly higher, or to a significantly higher max RPM. Total system output is 701 horsepower, which plateaus from 6750 and 7,000 RPM and 590 pound-feet of torque between 2,300 and 6,000 RPM. That's 61 more horsepower than the previous Turbo S, while torque remains the same. This makes the new Turbo S the most powerful road-going 911 yet, more powerful even than the old GT2 RS, which made 691 horsepower. So I went through the internal training, web-based training. I don't know why I did the quotations. It was a web-based training, for real, but it was really pretty limited in the information that they gave us. Nothing in that training course was really groundbreaking news that we couldn't get from press releases and other journalists. But the one thing I did think was really interesting was they had a dyno chart, and the peak torque is torque just shoots straight up, and then it's almost an entirely flat torque curve all the way to 6,000, which is just mind-blowing. I can't imagine what that's going to be like. And if this is any indicator of what the GT2 RS is going to look like in this 992.2 generation, I think we're going to have a crazy weapon. I imagine it'll probably be another 20-30 horsepower plus all of the major aero from similar to a GT3 RS. That's going to be an incredible car, and I hope to be able to even look at one day. As ever with the Turbo S, all-wheel drive is standard. This new model also gets the latest version of Porsche Dynamic Chassis Control, PDCC. In our training they called it EHPDCC. Basically I think it was electrohydraulic, because it operates off of the 400 volt system for a quicker response. As standard, you also get carbon ceramic brakes, 16.5 inch discs up front and larger 16.1 inch discs out back, plus a new pad material. The rear brakes are bigger than any other Porsche 911 rotor, and you're almost the same size front to rear, 0.4 of an inch difference. That's pretty much the same size. That's going to be a huge rotor. It's going to fill up that wheel big time. A new sports exhaust with a titanium muffler and exhaust tips is also standard. The exhaust routing is kind of crazy actually on this car. You've got right out of the muffler, out of the turbo, it'll go into a pre-cat, a catalyst, I believe, and then into a gasoline particulate filter, and then it shoots out toward the fender into the muffler, and then out the exhaust tip. So pretty complicated, and that's like a mirrored image, so you don't just have one gasoline particulate filter, you've got one per side. Each bank gets its own GPF and catalytic converter. The new Turbo S gets slightly wider rear tires, a 325/30 R21 instead of 315/30 R21 like the Carrera GTS. That's gigantic. It's like, what, this wide? You guys can't even see my hand, so I don't know why I did that. The increase in width is likely to deal with the extra power and increased rear weight bias of the hybrid system. The fronts remain at 255, 30, or 20, and the Turbo S gets wider fenders in the great 911 turbo tradition. This new car gets some aero tweaks too. Active grille shutters up front can open up when cooling needs dictate, but shut to improve drag. There's also an active front diffuser to work in concert with the deployable splitter and rear wing. Porsche says the improvements amount to a 10% reduction of the drag coefficient with the aero in its most efficient setting. It sounds like pretty standard Turbo S stuff. The front splitter is always has in the 992.1 had an adjustable splitter as well as the rear wing. Visually, the new Turbo S is distinguished by exterior and interior accents in Turbo Night, a new gray or brown gray shade Porsche created for turbo models. There's also a new center lock wheel design. Wonder if that's the center lock itself or if that's the wheel that's getting the updated design. I don't know my wheels well enough to know if that's yeah, I don't think I've seen that wheel design before. It's slightly different than anything I've ever seen. They look good. I'm not sure. Do you guys prefer if I hold my phone so I can share the screen? It's just kind of budget right now. I'd like to one day have screen sharing capabilities, but I'm not there with my tech yet. Visually, the new Turbo S is distinguished by exterior and interior accents in Turbo Night. We already talked about this. While the Turbo S comes very well equipped as standard, being a Porsche, it's still incredibly customizable. A new option is carbon fiber wiper arms. No, really. I bet that's gonna get ticked about half the time. That would be so cool. Carbon fiber wiper arms. I think I read in either an article or in the training that it saves like 10 grams. Like, it's really not much as far as weight savings, but it'll look the business for sure. I've been told I drink weird, so don't judge me. All of this new stuff has a consequence though: weight and power. Porsche says the Turbo S Coupe weighs 3,829 pounds, 180 more than its predecessor, though it's quick to point out that its 7 minute, 3 second, 92 millisecond is a huge improvement over the old Turbo S's time, and that the weight gain is relatively low for a car going hybrid. I would agree with that. Like 180 pounds, and you had to add 2 electric turbos, or 2 electric motors to the turbos, an electric motor between the transmission and the engine, plus all of the high voltage cabling, plus a high voltage battery. 180 pounds doesn't sound like a lot of weight at all when you consider what is all being added. Then there's the price. The Turbo S Coupe starts at $272,650. Oh my goodness. That's probably US. So a Turbo S in Canadian is like $1 million at this point. Yes, I exaggerated that on purpose. Converting that, I think our dollar is about 30% weaker. So yeah, you're deep into 300 grand for a Turbo S now. That's nuts. While the Cabriolet is $286,650. That's an over $30,000 increase over the outgoing Turbo S models, and Porsche says that tariffs could push the price even higher. Tariffs have already hit Porsche, which doesn't build cars in the US, hard, and the brand had already been increasing prices significantly over the last few years. That's just the price you'll have to pay for the most powerful, highest tech 911 yet. What do you guys think? New Turbo S, hot or not? I'm about it. I honestly can't wait for these to start rolling in. I'm not high voltage certified yet, so I probably won't get to really touch one until I either get my high voltage certificate uh, or they come in for services, because I don't need my high voltage technician training to do an oil change, even though the car is hybrid. Moving on to before we go on, one thing I wanted to mention about the Turbo S that I thought was really cool, and this is the same on the GTS. They have got this vehicle to be so efficient that it is constantly in lambda equals 1. So if you don't know what that means, lambda equals 1 refers to stoichiometric, I think I said that right, stoichiometric air-fuel ratio, which is 14.7 to 1. That's the optimal amount of air-fuel ratio to burn cleanly, if I understand correctly. And so with these electric turbos, if the vehicle needs more air, it just gets more air. It's that simple, because you can just spool up the turbo for more air. And then it's infinitely adjustable. Like, air and fuel ratios have long been really difficult to get in that window, and they most engines are, especially if you're watching O2 sensors, they're always fluctuating. So the fact that they can monitor that and adjust at such a precise level to keep it in lambda equals 1 100% of the time just blew my mind the first time I heard that. Moving on, we've got the new Gordon Murray Special Vehicles debut. 2 new supercars. If you guys haven't seen these, get a photo real quick. The S1LM, that is incredibly attractive in my opinion. It looks very much like the McLaren F1, but redesigned with a modern take, if that makes any sense. And the Le Mans GTR, not quite as attractive in my opinion, but still a very beautiful car with impressive stats. Let's get into this one. Have you ever laid awake at night imagining what a modern McLaren F1 LM would look like? Well, you can finally rest easy, because Gordon Murray Special Vehicles is showing us. Murray, of course, is the 79-year-old former Formula One designer for both McLaren and Brabham. If you didn't catch my video on Gordon Murray on Tuesday night, go back and check that out. I'm trying this new thing where I read Wikipedia articles, and I think it's been pretty interesting. I only did one, obviously, but it's kind of cool that this idea wasn't mine, obviously. I don't know why I said obviously. It wasn't my idea. I heard it on a podcast. They suggested one of their friends start a YouTube channel and a Spotify podcast where he just reads the Wikipedia articles, because he can enunciate really well, and I decided to give it a shot. It seemed like a good idea. I'll probably be doing one of those every week. So if you haven't seen any of those, make sure you hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for those. I'm not sure what I'm going to do the next one on, but we did the one on Gordon Murray last week, and I learned that he was a designer for Brabham and McLaren. I don't know if I knew that and forgot, or if that was the first time I learned about it, but I think reading the Wikipedia articles is serving a purpose for me, Even if nobody else watches, I at least get to learn something. Who then went on to other high-performance projects, including sports cars. He designed the McLaren F1 GTR that not only won the 1995 24 Hours of Le Mans, but took 4 of the top 5 places. Murray left McLaren to form Gordon Murray Automotive in 2017, a premier low-volume sports car builder. To say its products have been successful is an understatement, as according to the company website, the exclusive production run for the T50, T50S, T33, and T33 Spider have all been secured and allocated. As a newly formed sister company of Gordon Murray Automotive, the Special Vehicles Division is dedicated to creating completely bespoke one-off models. This is a huge trend in this area of vehicles. Like, if you've got money, you can buy whatever you want. And so when you have a level of money that you think you should have something you want, not that you think you should. I think most people that have this amount of money have worked really hard for it and have earned it. But it's one thing for you to be able to just hand over 7 figures and get one of 20 or one of 50 cars. So when you roll up to the billionaires meetup, you guys show up in the same car, super awkward. I don't understand that yet. Maybe one day. Who am I kidding? I'm probably never gonna make $1 billion. But I get it. Like, you want something unique that nobody else can get, so why not? I think if you're bitter about this, you're just jealous that you can't request your own one-off car be made by your favorite auto manufacturer. Unique cars for the discerning billionaire, if you will, who must only be seen in supercars of which only a handful exist. Unveiled during Monterey Car Week at the Quail, we now have the first 2 models under the GMSV name, the S1 LM and the Le Mans GTR. The S1 LM is the first fully bespoke commission by the company. The underpinnings are loosely based on the T50 supercar, but with a few key differences. The 3.9-liter Cosworth V12 has been bumped up to 4.3 liters, now making over 690 horsepower and capable of revving to 12,100 RPM. Let those numbers sink in. 690 horsepower from a 4.3-liter naturally aspirated V12, and it spins to 12,100 RPM. The only engines that rev to 12,000 RPM regularly are superbikes. Like, who? I'm glad that there are people that want to push these, because that's gotta sound amazing. I give my left kidney to go for a drive in one of these, probably. Notably, the unique ground effects enhancing fan of the T50 has been removed. Thank goodness. I didn't like the way that looked, to be honest. I mean, the concept is really cool, but it didn't look good for a road-going car, in my opinion. The S1 LM instead relies solely on traditional aerodynamics to create its downforce by way of a fixed rear wing and large front splitter. The design is clearly very much inspired by the McLaren F1 LM. The doors, the hood, and the front bumper and rear corners are all strikingly reminiscent of that Le Mans winning supercar of Gordon Murray's past, and it's no accident. In speaking with Philip Lee, CEO of Gordon Murray Group, the customer who commissioned this build wanted just that. One of the most iconic cars of all time, wrapped up in modern engineering and style. As stated by Murray himself, I love timeless design. I never want us to join the race to make the most outrageous looking supercar at the expense of balance, beauty, and proportion. Look at the result. The car is timeless and beautiful. Speaking of that customer, there will be 5 of the S1 LMs built, and apparently that unnamed customer is buying all of them. Certainly, we'd enjoy taking a different Gordon Murray creation to work every weekday. Yeah, that's sweet. And I'll just show you the headlights. They're just little slits for now. They haven't finalized the design of the headlights, but honestly, I think if you left it like that, I'd be fine. Like, make a little slit. I think it looks great. Jason Camisa suggested he throw in pop-ups, which, if you're a fan of 90s stuff, pop-ups are all the rage. Excuse me. The design is very... Oh, we read that part, sorry. The second car on display is dubbed the Le Mans GTR. It has a smooth, flowing look that takes inspiration from the longtail racers of the late 20th century, designed both by Murray as well as several other longtails, such as the Porsche 917. Call me crazy, but that front end, like especially right here, does that not look kind of like the McLaren Senna? I think that there's some design there that's reminiscent of that car anyway. This car is less pretty, but still still stunning. It's just, it looks more brutalist and functional, whereas the S1LM just looks timeless. Longtail racing cars perfectly combine aerodynamic benefit and aesthetic balance, Murray says. I've always loved their mix of considered engineering and flowing design. Our Le Mans GTR timelessly reimagines the longtail racers I've admired since I began designing cars, adding contemporary aerodynamics and our exquisitely engineered chassis, engine, and transmission. This car shown is not as far along in the engineering process as the S1LM, but the company claims that when complete, it will be slot in as a slightly more track-focused offering than the T50. Okay, I would just like to have that. I don't even need it to run. Just put that in my living room and I would be a very, very happy man. That is a gorgeous engine. Like the S1LM, it uses a version of the same naturally aspirated V12 and 6-speed manual transmission, but GMSV claims that almost every other aspect of the car will be changed. One change pointed out to us is on that engine, as this car also does away with the rear-mounted fan. The exhaust has been rerouted as a longer, lower system that they claim will create a deeper, bassier sound than its screaming high-pitched counterparts. As ex-racer and current Murray test driver and 2025 honoree at the Amelia, Dario Franchitti put it, it's got a little of Barry White in its voice. Murray says the Le Mans GTR is on track to begin deliveries in 2026. 24 cars will be built, one for each hour of the race that inspired its name. However, as is par for the course nowadays, they are all already spoken for, and at undisclosed but undoubtedly 7-figure prices. Yeah, for sure. Like, there's no way that car's not going to be $1 million or more. I wouldn't doubt if it's like 3 million, to be honest. And kudos to Gordon Murray for keeping the manual transmission alive in his supercars. I think we're going to see a resurgence in that. People obviously love them and they're willing to spend big, big money for them. So I think brands like Ferrari and Lamborghini would have to be crazy to not put manual transmissions in at least some of their cars, like their really high-end one-offs. Put a manual in it. Like, it's never going to be driven anyway, so who cares about track time? Moving on to something a little more relatable to the common folk, myself included. Ford is building a $30,000 electric truck. Here's everything we know. This article is on motor1.com and it's written by Anthony Alanis. So the Maverick isn't 30 grand. You cannot buy a Maverick for 30 grand. I know, like, I think if you look up their website in US dollars, it's close. Let's see, Ford Maverick price in USD. So the very, very base model is 28 grand. 29,840. That might as well be 30. And that's a base model that doesn't have the battery pack of a fully electric vehicle. It's an internal combustion engine vehicle. Like, you didn't have to do any development. You don't have to buy you don't have to put the big battery pack in it. And you can't build it for less than 30 grand. How on earth are you going to build an electric truck for 30 grand? And this brings us to the Slate as well. Like, I don't see the Slate coming out under 30 US. I know they're saying that it's going to be 30 grand, and they've made it super base model. That's not really the right way to say it. Very few options, very minimalist, but I don't see it coming in under 30. I think it'll be at least 35, maybe 40, because you got to think, you're not manufacturing body panels in the normal fashion. So yes, you don't have to paint it, but you have to form every body panel instead of just having a gigantic press come down, boom, 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 putting out, what, 60 door skins a minute? You just don't have the speed. So yes, you're avoiding the paint booth, but you're spending more time stamping out body panels than you normally would. So I don't know. I think the Slate is actually a really good idea for the most part, and if it does come to market anywhere near that, I'm gonna be tempted to buy one. I think it'd be the perfect little scoot to work and back vehicle for me. I could maybe throw the Grom in the bed for the occasion where it needs to be hauled out somewhere. Theoretically, I'd take it to a track day once or twice, or I could at least bring it somewhere to do a ride instead of having to sit on the freeway getting killed because taking the stock Grom on the freeway is a bad idea. Believe it or not, Ford is adding yet another pickup to its lineup, this time a fully electric model. While we've seen electric trucks from Ford before, this one will be smaller, more in line with the compact Maverick rather than the full-size F-150 Lightning. I've driven an F-150 Lightning. It's an incredible truck. Insanely expensive, kind of impractical, if you ask me, because if you bought an F-150, in theory, you're towing something or hauling a lot of weight, and we all know that EVs don't have great range when it comes to towing. And where I live anyway, it gets really, really cold in the winter and your range drops significantly. So if you've got low range and it's cold and you're trying to tow, it sounds like a bad time. Designed to be both affordable and efficient, Ford will build the new truck using an all-new universal EV production system aimed at reducing costs for both the company and consumers. It's expecting to start at around $30,000, match the performance of an EcoBoost Mustang, and offer more interior space than a Toyota RAV4. Ford is also introducing a new universal EV platform for this truck and future EVs. This architecture uses 20% fewer parts and 25% fewer fasteners than a typical vehicle, streamlining production and cutting costs. That's actually kind of interesting. I'm not sure how you would save 20% on the parts and 25% fewer fasteners. My first assumption is that instead of fasteners, you're using more bonding agents, which I don't know much money you save going that route. Or perhaps they've just assembled these vehicles differently. Maybe they're using like the Mega Press or something similar to that, where you can just die cast the whole skateboard in one shot, like Tesla was trying to do. I don't know if you guys know in the comments below, let me know. Did Tesla figure out how to do front, rear, and mid subframe all in one gigantic press? Because if they did, that's like game changing. If we're lucky, Ford could revive a retro name for this new pickup. Ahead of the truck's announcement in August, Ford filed a trademark for the Ranchero name. The Ranchero wasn't a pickup. I mean, I guess you could call it a pickup. The original Ranchero was a two-door car-based pickup designed to compete with the Chevrolet El Camino. If you're gonna bring the Ranchero name out, it has to be a two-door. I'm sorry, if you bring out a four-door and slap the Ranchero name on it, we're gonna hate you as much as we did when you named an SUV a Mustang. Ford has also recently trademarked several other names: Fathom, Fuse, Hive, and Mythic. While not as exciting as Ranchero, these could be reserved for other vehicles built on the new EV platform. Let's hope the new truck gets a name with a bit more character. Agreed. Ford's upcoming compact electric truck will be built on the company's new universal EV platform. This next-gen architecture uses 20% fewer parts and requires 40% fewer workstations during assembly. I mean, if you're reducing your workstations by 40%, yeah, you're gonna save a ton of money in assembly. I can see them making this claim now. It makes a little more sense. The truck's wiring harness alone will be 4,000 feet shorter and 22.1 pounds lighter than previous versions. That should contribute to a 15% faster production process. Excuse me. Yeah, that's insane. So, just thinking logically, how would you reduce the amount of wiring? I think you either make one wire do multiple things, like carry more information, or you have modules that do more with less information, if that makes any sense. I'm not, that's way beyond my knowledge. I do know that Tesla was touting a bunch. I don't know why I keep referring to Tesla. Maybe it's because they're innovating. They were touting that they were able to reduce a bunch of wiring length in their vehicles too, and I think it had to do with how they were getting their modules to communicate with each other. I can't remember exactly, but that would definitely help. So if they're making their wiring 22 pounds lighter, let's see, how much does copper cost? Currently $3.50 to $5.50 per pound, depending on its grade, but that's not including the amount of time it takes, or like the cost it takes to process that copper into actual wires. So you can probably assume that it's close to $8-9 a pound. Once it's all processed and turned into wires. I mean, you're saving some money, but that's not a significant amount. I think, yeah, you're gonna save a couple of bucks there, a couple hundred. See, quick math, 16, is that 3? You're probably like $300 to $400 savings. So I think most of your savings is going to be in assembly time and the 20% fewer parts and 25% fewer fasteners. So that you're saving about 25% total cost, I would estimate. And again, I don't know anything about production, but if you're saving 25% on production, then you can pass, say, a 20% savings onto the customer, 20% less than 30 grand for the Maverick. You're definitely there. So maybe their claims are accurate. We'll see. Time will tell. Ford technically calls its new electric truck a mid-size vehicle, which would put it in a similar category as the Ranger. For reference, the latest Ranger is about 210 inches long, 87 inches wide, and 74 inches tall. Despite that, this new truck should be closer in size to the current Maverick. Ford claims the pickup will offer more passenger space than a Toyota RAV4, along with a front trunk and traditional rear bed for added versatility. I think that's the biggest win for electric platforms in the truck space. So much space. You can carry your groceries in the front and a sheet of plywood in the back, or a couple of sheets of plywood in the back. Makes it a very, very versatile utilitarian vehicle for sure. There are also so many ways to design a pickup, and so far Ford has only revealed a vague silhouette of a generic four-door truck. It's expected to combine the compact charm of the Maverick with the rugged utility of the Ranger. Our rendering envisions the truck with a closed-off front grille that conceals the front, as well as front and rear light bars connecting the headlights and taillights, styling cues reminiscent of the Ford F-150 Lightning. Ford's upcoming electric truck will use advanced prismatic lithium iron phosphate batteries, LFP. LFP batteries are cheaper and more durable than traditional lithium-ion cells, though they offer lower energy density. In the Mustang Mach-E standard range, a 73 kilowatt-hour LFP battery delivers up to 260 miles of range. While Ford hasn't disclosed the truck's battery size, it has revealed that the battery will double as the vehicle's structural subassembly and floor, contributing to rigidity and packaging efficiency. That's probably also where they're saving their parts and fasteners. If the battery is the frame, it's like a motorcycle where the engine is a structural member. Although not yet confirmed, the truck is expected to offer both single and dual motor configurations. Ford claims it will be as quick as an EcoBoost Mustang, which reaches 0 to 60 in high 4-second range, while generating more aerodynamic downforce. Ford says its upcoming electric pickup will start around 30 grand, just above the Maverick, 29,840, and well below the midsize Ranger, which starts at 35,245 for 2025. That should leave just enough room for a third truck in Ford's lineup. I think trucks have just gotten insanely expensive. When I worked at Chrysler back in, I think it was 2017, end of 2017, beginning of 2018, you could buy a Ram 1500 Sport, I think for 50 Canadian, something like that. Someone that knows better can correct me, but you can't touch a pickup truck now for less than 70 Canadian, and you're getting a base model truck at that point. I go through the dealerships pretty frequently. I just like to cruise. It's been one of mine and Emily's favorite pastimes throughout our dating and marriage. And I always pull over and see what things cost. And Silverado EV, I think I saw one for 140 grand. I bought my first house for 85. That's insane. 85 grand for a house, or 140 for a pickup truck that's going to depreciate. Makes no sense. No sense whatsoever. Ford is promoting a new manufacturing approach for this truck and other upcoming electric vehicles called the Ford Universal EV Production System. This system reimagines a traditional assembly line into an assembly tree, with 3 separate subsystem lines converging into one. Oh, that's interesting. So I wonder, at what point in the production process do they converge? Because you've got to think, if you've got 3 different models, they're mostly going to be different unless the architecture is so similar that you can basically assemble a good portion of the vehicles all the exact same way. Ford claims this innovative process, combined with the new platform, could speed up vehicle assembly by up to 40%. Production will take place at Ford's Louisville assembly plant in Kentucky. And those are high-paying union jobs. High-paying union jobs. So if you eliminate 40% of the time it takes to assemble a vehicle, you're saving thousands of dollars in production. So yes, Ford seems to have all the right ingredients. Let's just see if they know how to bake this cake. Ford hasn't announced an exact debut date for the truck, only confirming it will go on sale in 2027. Given the new manufacturing process that Ford has proposed, there's plenty of prep time still needed before production can begin. This means the truck will likely debut sometime in 2026, possibly late in the year. Ford isn't just launching a new vehicle, it's rolling out a new production system that must be implemented and perfected before the first trucks reach showrooms, which is no small task. And if they're doing 3 different vehicles on this assembly line, they're probably going to reveal 2 new models that will go into production at the same time. So keep your eye out for 2 other electric vehicles made by Ford, probably. Let's see. When is the Slate truck supposed to come out? Slate truck is supposed to... Doesn't look like we have a date. Late 2026. So Slate and Ford will be delivering their theoretical vehicles around the same time. Keeping on with the Ford news, Mustang and Raptor Meister Ford Performance is changing its name. Why? Why are we doing this, Ford? You just dropped the SVT moniker. We all got used to Ford Performance finally, and then you're gonna change it on us again. Okay, wake up everybody. Ford Performance is dead. Long live Ford Racing. That's it, a rebrand. Everything else remains the same. Mark Rushbrook retains his title as Global Director of Ford Racing, and Henry Ford's great-great-grandson, William Clay Ford III, stays on as General Manager. Nothing else is going on except Ford Racing continues to prepare for its return to Formula One in 2026 as a battery and electronic supplier and technical partner to Red Bull powertrains. It will jointly develop the next generation hybrid power units for both Oracle Red Bull Racing and RB F1 race teams. In its sophomore season of Raptor T1 Plus racing, Ford is looking to build on its podium finish in the 2025 running of the Dakar Rally, and we assume more record-setting shenanigans with the Ford Racing Supervan that recently achieved a sub-7-minute lap around the famed Nürburgring circuit. That van looks so dope. Perhaps Ford will consider another Mustang challenge at the 2026 running of the 24 Hours of Le Mans, given the successful inaugural race in 2025. We'll see, and we'll check in with Rushbrook and Will when we get a chance. Stay tuned. Yeah, a rebrand again. I don't know why we have to do this. Like, what was wrong with Ford Performance? I think it said everything that needed to be said. In fact, SVT. Why did that need to change? SVT was a fine name. Moving on to, let's see, this is interesting to me. This is from Inside EVs. This new solid-state EV battery charges quicker than getting gas. Bold claim. Rimac has unveiled a new solid-state battery that promises ultra-fast charging speeds and impressive energy density. You notice how all of the companies that are doing groundbreaking innovation are new companies? Why is that? Why don't we have Chevrolet? Why don't we have Volkswagen doing groundbreaking stuff? I think they got complacent. We don't have to innovate. We are the only ones doing, we have the whole market cornered. Oh my, how the turntables have turned. Unveiled today at the IAA Mobility Show in Munich, Germany, the upcoming battery has a discharge power of 850 kilowatts. It's smaller, weighs less, and charges over 2 times faster than the company's latest liquid-based cylindrical cells, under 10 minutes to go from 10% to 80%. Yeah, at 10 minutes to go from 10 to 80, you're competing with gas cars. Like, you could plug your car in, go take a leak, grab a coffee, come back and be at 80%. That's a win for sure. Rimac Technology, the parts developer and manufacturer that's wholly owned by the Rimac Group, unveiled a game-changing solid-state battery pack for electric cars that promises to make top-ups on the go faster than filling up with gas and getting a coffee. Developed in collaboration with Prologium and Mitsubishi Chemical Group, the state-of-the-art liquidless high-voltage battery pack was unveiled today at the IAA Mobility Show in Munich, Germany, alongside the latest iteration of the Croatian company's liquid-based cylindrical cell pack. Obviously, I am reading an article that was written about a week ago because that show, I think, is over. Despite the advancements on the cylindrical cell front, the solid-state pack blows it out of the water with its specs. Let's get the charging time out of the way first, because that's the biggest differentiator by far. According to Rimac, a 100 kilowatt-hour solid-state pack can be charged from 10% to 80%, which is the go-to metric for road trips, in just 6.5 minutes. 6.5 minutes. That's really, really competing with a gasoline fill-up now. That's incredible. Although, if this is a Rimac development, we'll probably see it hit Rimac, Bugatti, then Porsche, then Volkswagen. Maybe. Unless they license it like straight out the gate and everyone hops on board. So we've got a couple of years before this is a real world use case scenario, I think. Excuse me. That's faster than it took me to fill up with gas on a recent road trip I took with my plug-in hybrid wagon, where I had to wait for 2 people ahead of me to pay for their fill-ups. This is a huge step forward, but there is one caveat. DC fast chargers, which are slowly but surely offering 350 kilowatt speeds across the land, will have to step up. Thankfully, there's still time for charging operators to install even more powerful stalls, as Rimac's solid-state battery will head to a high-performance EV near you starting in the fourth quarter of 2027. As a Tier 1 supplier for several automakers, Rimac technology parts are already being fitted to cars made by the BMW Group and Porsche. So I suspect fourth quarter of 2027. Is that Porsche Boxster Cayman supposed to come out in 27, or is that supposed to be earlier? The first Google search suggestion is delayed. Yes, it's been delayed. Okay. According to this, vehicle is expected to arrive in 2027 at the earliest. So, if my deduction is correct, which it lines up pretty good. Fourth quarter of 2027. That's pretty close to the Boxster and Cayman release. So expect to see it either in that vehicle or potentially, I want to say, I don't think we'll see a 918 replacement fully electric. I don't think there's a demand for that. It seems like the customers that bought the 918 want something similar to the 918 and not a fully electric hypercar. But yeah, I would expect to see this battery make its debut or be one of the first models that comes in, being that Boxster Cayman platform. Getting back to the specs, the next generation high voltage battery is marketed as being capable of retaining over 95% of its energy at -4 degrees Fahrenheit. There's also no risk of fire or explosion at the cell level. That's a big deal as it makes fire safety a non-issue. Wow, -4 degrees Fahrenheit is insane. In Ontario, where I live, we don't see those temperatures. Alberta, yeah, they get the -20s Celsius pretty frequently, I think. But the coldest I've seen here in I think last winter was like -10, -15 maybe. So if it retains 95% of its energy at that temperature, you solve that issue. Like it completely gets rid of the cold weather argument. The voltage is rated between 540 and 907 volts. The power density is 2,210 watts per kilogram and 2980 watts per liter, which is a big improvement over the latest cylindrical cell pack, which boasts 1753 watts per kilogram and 2575 watts per liter. All of this means that a 100 kilowatt solid state pack needs less space than a comparable cylindrical cell pack, 285 liters to be precise, down from 320 liters. That's significant. Like that takes up a lot of space right there. It also weighs less, 846 pounds versus 1,036 pounds. So you're saving a significant amount of space and almost 200 pounds. Yeah, that's no laughing matter. 200 pounds to save on an EV is just in the battery pack. That's not using carbon fiber or titanium or magnesium to reduce the weight of the vehicle. That's insane. That's assuming that the cost of the batteries is similar. That's like free weight loss. Rimatt's solid state pack has pouch cells assembled using the cell to pack method. The cell's chemistry consists of 90% nickel, 5% manganese, and 5% cobalt for the cathode and 100% silicone for the anode. The pack is housed in a thermoplastic composite enclosure and is cooled indirectly with refrigerant, which is different from the cylindrical type pack, which uses indirect water glycol cooling. Interesting that they would use refrigerant. I assume it needs more cooling if they're doing that. Interesting. Oh, isn't this interesting? I have an article from Ride Apart up. I know all of this has been automotive related, but Ducati has an all-electric bike with a solid-state battery, a Volkswagen Group first. I'm seeing the connection here. Rimac is developing a battery for Ducati. When Ducati rolled out its V21L race prototype at IAA Mobility in Munich this September, it wasn't just another Moto E machine. It was the first Volkswagen Group vehicle to run on a solid-state lithium metal battery, developed by QuantumScape and PowerCo. Oh, so not a Rimac development. That's interesting. For Ducati, it's a racing milestone. For Volkswagen, it's proof that its long-hyped battery tech is finally moving off the slide deck and onto the track. Whatever side of the EV debate you sit on, seeing solid-state tech make the leap from lab to racetrack is hard not to applaud. It reshapes how we think about power, unlocking batteries that are safer, faster, more efficient, and more compact. Improvements that ripple into the bikes themselves, and maybe most importantly, it widens the tent, pulling in riders who've never been tempted by the smell of petrol but still want to feel the rush of two wheels. I mean, up until recently, the smell of petrol and the rush of two wheels have been symbiotic. You couldn't get one without the other. Motorcycles and motorsports are a big part of my life. The passion was carved into my heart with a carbureted engine, clutch controls, and exhaust burns. That sounds like a good time. I won't pretend I'd gladly watch electric bikes replace my beloved two-stroke or a six-speed sport bike, but this isn't the battle, it's a negotiation. Evolution is inevitable, especially on the pista and especially with Ducati. Even with Honda, Toyota, and VW investing heavily, mass production of solid-state batteries remains a challenge. Still, those silent, clutchless Moto E spaceships are here to stay. I personally don't really see the benefit of an electric motorcycle. Most people that ride a bike say loud pipes save lives. This is the exact opposite of loud pipes. I suppose if you're a city commuter, there is an argument to be made for an electric bike, but I don't see a huge argument for it. You can't argue cost savings because gas in a commuter bike is not expensive. They don't use fuel. And this is the perfect city bike, honestly. I'm on the highway right now averaging 2.4? 2.3. 2.3 liters per 100 kilometers. That's as close as it gets to free transportation. So you can't really compete with an electric bike. And if you're gonna race these things, how many laps are you even gonna get out of an electric bike? Most cars that are developed for racing, or like electric supercars, electric hypercars, can maybe squeeze out one lap of the Nürburgring. So you've got 7 minutes. Assuming you can get the exact same amount on a MotoGP bike, it's gonna make for a lot of pit stops with battery swaps or bike swaps, and I just don't think that is interesting racing. Oh, here's something that I found pretty interesting as well. There's this Motor Trend article. It's the title is, "This wild car paint tech works just like your home printer. Imagine your inkjet printer dispensing automotive grade paint from the end of a paint factory robot arm." My first thought is you could design your own vinyl wrap and just paint it on. Your own designs. Let's see if I am on the right track here. You may have rolled your eyes slightly if you saw the scores of Maybach logos on the hood of the Mercedes Maybach SL680, but the new pixel paint process used to achieve that look may have a bright green tech future with applications on mainstream cars at vastly more affordable price points. Think of it as digital paint. Oh my word. Look at that hood. Those are all different little Maybach logos with incredible detail, I might add. Sustainability. A key enabler is suppliers ABB's RB1000i-S paint atomizer, which boasts a 95 to 99% transfer efficiency, paint molecules ending up in the finish. 95 to 99% is incredible. I don't know how much you all know about paint, but there's a lot of paint that gets wasted in the painting process in a factory most of the time. I want to say they got a, oh, further on down it says 60%, which sounds about what I remembered. Let's get into it. This greatly reduces emissions of volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, maintenance costs like replacing the masking material on the robotic arms, waste treatment costs for the fluids coming out of the paint booth, etc. The technology lends itself to highly accurate computer simulation that helps improve paint application, which can lead to further cost savings. Mazda is already painting whole cars this way and is counting on the technology to greatly reduce the CO2 footprint excuse me, of its paint shops, which it claims account for 60% of the total amount attributable to its ICE vehicle production. Okay, so that 60% is different than the figure I was thinking of. Dot matrix painting. The heads required to reproduce the Maybach logos feature 1,000 tiny individually controlled nozzles, and the robotic arms they attach to offer high precision motion control. They also dispense paint from a closer distance, 3 to 8 millimeters, which further improves transfer efficiency while complicating the task of painting highly contoured shapes. 3 to 8 millimeters is insanely close. You're like practically kissing the metal at that point. Pixel paint differs somewhat from broadcast spray paint, though ABB is cagey on the specifics other than to say the viscosity is altered to suit the high precision microscopic nozzles, and its chemical makeup is designed to be less likely to sag during curing. So it's probably like thin as water but super sticky somehow. Or it's charged. It could have an electrical charge to it. Despite greatly reduced airborne VOCs, the paint must meet the same explosion-proof standards, so waterborne paint is still employed. What about multicolor designs? ABB's existing paint heads cannot dispense different colors the way your office printer does, but if Maybach ever decides to give its logos a metallic gold drop shadow, ABB can accommodate that wish by making a second pass with a gold paint head. Oh, excuse me. My throat's getting a little raw, I guess. It might also one day be possible to pixel paint clear coat into the voids of a design to eliminate the multiple layering and sanding of clear on today's SL680 hood. Well, that's interesting. I think the big winner there would be the savings of paint. Instead of losing so much paint to the air or just falling onto the ground instead of the car, you're painting directly onto the car, and getting 95 to 99% of your paint to hit the car is insane. Like, people dream of numbers like that. All right, I think that just about does it for today. If you like this video, leave a comment down below on what else you'd like me to cover, and like any other topics. And if, what do I want to say? Oh yeah, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. I'll do one of these next Thursday as well, see how that goes. This one didn't have the turnout that last week's did, but I still enjoyed it, so I'm going to keep doing it. And like I mentioned, I did the Wikipedia reading as well. I'm calling that series Automotive History According to Wikipedia. So leave comments down below on any topics you want me to cover there, whether that be someone that's influential in the automotive sphere, a brand, or a model. I'm down to read whatever you guys want to learn about. And I also have, my last video was released yesterday. It was me talking about how I've messed up some cars that I've been working on in the past and how I handled those situations. Do me a favor and go check that out as well. And I guess I'll be signing off, and I will see you next week. Thank you guys. Have a good night.